Marcus sat at his small desk in his tiny apartment aboard the Titan orbital colony, staring at the holographic screen floating in front of him. The hum of the station's machinery filled the room, a constant reminder that life here was never still. He adjusted the strap of his wrist device and sighed. Dating had never been his strong suit, but the colony's Social Connect app promised a way to meet people without the awkwardness of in-person encounters. Tonight, he hoped for a simple, quiet conversation, nothing complicated. He tapped the icon and entered the virtual lobby. Holographic lights danced around him, creating the illusion of a cozy lounge filled with other avatars chatting in low tones. Marcus swiped through profiles, his thumb hovering nervously over each potential match. Most of them seemed either too flashy or too formal, and he wasn't looking for either. Finally, he saw a profile labeled L09, Diplomat Elite Simulation. He squinted. Diplomat Simulation? That's not... Wait, I wasn't supposed to enter this one. Too late. His thumb had already tapped the join button. The screen shimmered, and the world around him shifted. The lounge melted into a wide, ornate chamber filled with soft golden light. Holographic plants glowed in every corner, and a grand window opened onto a view of Titan's icy surface below. Marcus blinked. This wasn't his simple dating simulation. He was in something far more sophisticated. A voice spoke from somewhere near the window. "You must be my partner for this simulation," it said gently. Marcus turned and saw her. She was striking, even through the slightly pixelated simulation. Dark hair pulled back neatly, eyes sharp but kind, and a posture that suggested both strength and elegance. I think there's a mistake," Marcus said, raising his hands in surrender. "I was supposed to join the casual lounge, not this, diplomatic thing." She studied him for a moment, tilting her head. "The system shows you as my assigned partner. Perhaps the mix-up is yours, but we have to proceed." Marcus swallowed. "Proceed? With diplomacy?" He glanced around. The chamber contained holographic projections of planets, space stations, and clusters of colonies, all marked with tiny colored lights. I don't even know what I'm doing here." She smiled faintly. "Then you will learn quickly. The simulation adapts to your choices. If we work together, we succeed. If not..." Her voice softened. "The consequences are only virtual, but the lessons are real." Marcus hesitated. He wasn't trained for negotiations, treaties, or anything that involved high-level thinking like this, but there was no exit button, no log-out option. The system had trapped him. The thought made his stomach twist, but curiosity also pricked at him. What if he could just try? "All right," he said finally, forcing a shaky smile. "Let's try." Her eyes lit up slightly, and she gestured for him to follow her. "I'm Ilara. You'll find that your perspective, unusual but useful." The first task was simple on paper. Negotiate a trade agreement between two colonies over the mining rights to an asteroid rich in rare minerals. Marcus had no idea how to start. Ilara, on the other hand, spoke confidently, listing protocols, potential offers, and diplomatic options. Marcus listened, nodding, trying to absorb everything. "I think you're overcomplicating it," he said finally, surprising even himself. "Why not offer both colonies a small share first and promise more if they cooperate? Everyone likes a little immediate reward." Ilara raised an eyebrow. "You just think of the human element first?" Marcus shrugged. "Well, yeah. I mean, why not? They're people, not data points." To his astonishment, the simulation responded positively. The holographic colonies agreed to the proposal. The lights on the chamber's map pulsed green, signaling success. Ilara looked at him with a mixture of surprise and admiration. "Interesting," she said softly. "You're not following the rules. but your instinct works. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of challenges. They faced interstellar resource disputes, miscommunications between colony leaders, and even simulated crises threatening entire planets. Marcus had no training, no strategy manuals, yet his ability to think like a human, messy, empathetic, and unpredictable, kept them ahead. Ilara, trained for years in diplomatic strategy, found herself learning from him as much as he was learning from her. At one point, during a particularly tense negotiation over water rights on a desert planet, Marcus noticed something that the system hadn't flagged, a subtle pattern in the colony's behaviors that suggested distrust toward the AI simulation itself. He suggested, maybe if we let them talk directly, without the system's suggestions, they might cooperate better. Ilara's eyes widened. You think human-to-human trust matters more than AI advice? Yeah, Marcus said simply. Sometimes humans just need to be heard. They tried it, and once again it worked. The colonies agreed to share resources. Lights flashed green, signaling success, and a soft chime announced the end of the task. By the time the simulation evening ended, Marcus felt exhausted but exhilarated. He looked at Ilara, who leaned slightly against a projection of Titan's glowing surface. She was quiet for a moment, her gaze softening. You have a way of seeing things that's rare, she said finally. Most partners would have followed the system blindly. You listen, you feel, you adapt. Marcus blinked, feeling a warm rush of pride. I'm just me, he said awkwardly. I guess that's all anyone can be. Ilara's lips curved into a small smile. Perhaps, but it is enough, more than enough. They logged out soon after, and Marcus blinked as his small apartment came back into view. He felt a strange sense of loss. Part of him wanted to stay in the simulation, wanted to explore this new world with her. Yet he also felt a spark of excitement. This accidental encounter, this wrong connection, had shown him something he hadn't realized he was missing. Genuine human connection, even in a world ruled by technology and order. That night, as Marcus lay in his narrow bed, he kept thinking about Ilara and the evening's events. He thought about her laughter when he made mistakes, the way she paused to consider his unusual suggestions, and the hint of admiration in her eyes. For the first time in years, he felt a pulse of hope, a reminder that even in a vast mechanical universe, humans could still find moments of real connection. And somewhere deep inside, Marcus couldn't help but wonder, what if this wrong click was exactly the right thing that had happened to him? The next day, Marcus returned to the small desk in his apartment with a mix of excitement and nervousness. The previous night's accidental connection with Ilara kept replaying in his mind. He wondered if the simulation would allow him to meet her again, or if it had been a one-time glitch. When he logged in, the system shimmered and then stabilized into a new chamber. This one was different from the elegant lounge of yesterday. The walls were sleek and metallic, lined with holographic screens displaying colonies, trade routes, and environmental data. A soft blue light filled the space, giving it a calm, almost meditative atmosphere. Marcus swallowed nervously. Ilara was already there, standing near a projection of a busy spaceport. She turned when she saw him. "Good. You came back," she said with a slight smile. "We have another set of challenges ahead." Marcus scratched the back of his neck. I hope I don't mess this up," he said. "You won't," she replied with quiet confidence. "But remember, this time it's not just about problem solving. It's about trust, leadership, and understanding human needs. The simulation will test your ability to cooperate under pressure." Before Marcus could ask more, the first challenge appeared. A holographic colony on a frozen moon was facing a food shortage. The colony's leaders refused to accept aid unless the offer came in a precise diplomatic format, following hundreds of strict protocols. Marcus stared at the projection, feeling overwhelmed. Ilara noticed his hesitation. "Remember," she said gently, "the rules are guidelines, not absolutes. Sometimes, a simple human approach is better than following instructions perfectly." Marcus nodded slowly. He took a deep breath and approached the simulation's interface. "Okay," he said. "Let's try talking to them, honestly and clearly. Tell them we understand their struggles and want to help, not just because it's the right protocol, but because it matters to us as people." Ilara raised an eyebrow. "You really think empathy works in a high-level negotiation?" "I hope so," Marcus admitted. He issued the request, phrasing it in plain, heartfelt language. The holographic leaders paused, their animated faces showing hesitation. Then, slowly, they agreed to receive aid. Green lights flashed across the screen, signaling success. Ilara's eyes widened slightly. "That actually worked," she said, almost in disbelief. Marcus smiled, feeling a surge of pride. Sometimes humans just need to be heard. The day continued with more challenges, each designed to test a different skill. In one scenario, two colonies disputed over water rights on a desert planet. The system provided exhaustive data, charts, and AI suggestions for possible solutions. Marcus ignored most of it, instead asking questions to understand what each colony truly needed. He suggested a schedule for water distribution based on urgency and fairness, rather than strict quotas. The colonies accepted his proposal, leaving Ilara stunned. "You're unpredictable," she said, shaking her head with admiration. "Most trained diplomats would have relied entirely on AI recommendations." Marcus grinned. "I guess I just trust people more than machines sometimes." By mid-evening, the simulation threw a new type of challenge: a natural disaster. A massive solar storm threatened a cluster of orbital colonies. Communication lines were down, and AI systems were overloaded with conflicting data. Marcus felt panic rising. He had no experience in disaster response, yet he realized something critical. Humans adapt in ways machines cannot. "Listen," he said to Ilara, "we can't wait for perfect data. We need to act fast. Let's focus on evacuation routes, resources, and who needs help the most. The system can handle calculations, but we decide priorities." Ilara nodded, impressed by his clarity under pressure. They divided tasks: Marcus coordinating evacuation and medical aid, Ilara handling logistics and communication protocols. The simulation responded positively to their combined efforts, rewarding efficiency and empathy over blind adherence to AI logic. As the challenge ended, Marcus and Ilara sat in the simulation's virtual observation deck, watching holographic messages of gratitude from the saved colonies. Marcus felt a warm, strange satisfaction. "I never thought I'd be proud of virtual people." Ilara laughed softly, a sound that made Marcus's chest feel light. "Pride in your work, even simulated, shows what humans can achieve when they trust each other. You make mistakes, yes, but your instincts are honest, valuable." Marcus blushed, feeling slightly awkward under her praise. "I'm just doing what feels right," he said. "You see," she replied, "that is exactly why your presence here is unique. Most participants follow logic or protocol. You follow humanity." Hours passed, and their final challenge of the day arrived. A simulated colony was being sabotaged from within. The system presented them with options to catch the saboteur using surveillance, AI tracking, or interrogation protocols. Marcus immediately suggested another approach. Why not talk to the colony members first? Ask why they're upset or frustrated. Maybe we can solve the root cause instead of just punishing someone. Ilara hesitated. "You're suggesting a human solution again?" "Yes," Marcus said confidently. "Punishment solves nothing. People respond to understanding. It might not be perfect, but it's worth trying." They followed his plan. By listening to the colonists' grievances, They uncovered the saboteur's motivations: frustration over neglect and fear of resource shortages. Marcus proposed a solution that addressed those concerns directly. The system evaluated the outcome and awarded a perfect success score. Ilara turned to him, eyes wide. "You actually did it. Your human approach saved them all." Marcus smiled sheepishly. "Sometimes, humans know what humans need better than any machine." The simulation ended for the day, and Marcus felt a mixture of exhaustion and exhilaration. His accidental entry into this complex simulation had turned into an unexpected adventure. He realized that despite his lack of training, he could contribute meaningfully, not through technique, but through empathy, creativity, and honesty. Ilara's avatar moved closer to him, her expression softer than usual. "Marcus," she said quietly, "you have a way of seeing the world that is rare." Most participants would have focused only on scores or success metrics. You focus on people, that is remarkable. Marcus looked at her, feeling a strange warmth in his chest. "I just try to do the right thing," he said. She smiled, just slightly, a curve that seemed to make the cold, metallic chamber feel warmer. "It's more than enough. It's exactly what's needed." As they logged out and the simulation dissolved around him, Marcus leaned back in his chair, staring at the ceiling. The events of the day replayed in his mind. He realized something profound. Humans had an edge, even in a world dominated by technology and AI. Their creativity, intuition, and empathy could solve problems machines could not. For the first time, he understood why the system had kept him here accidentally. Perhaps it wasn't a mistake at all. Perhaps, in this vast, complex universe, the human perspective was exactly what was needed to solve problems, build trust, and create real change. And in that quiet apartment, orbiting Titan, Marcus felt a sense of purpose he hadn't felt before. A small spark of hope flickered in his heart, and he knew that tomorrow he would log in again, not for the simulation, not for the scores, but for the chance to continue learning, growing, and discovering what humans could truly achieve together. That night, as he prepared for sleep, he found himself thinking of Ilara's soft smile, her quiet confidence, and the gentle admiration in her eyes. He wondered what tomorrow would bring, what new challenges, what new discoveries, and he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time: excitement, anticipation, and the simple joy of human connection. The simulation had begun as a mistake, a wrong click, but Marcus realized that sometimes the wrong path could lead to the most meaningful discoveries, and for the first time in years, he felt ready for them. The next morning, Marcus woke with a strange sense of anticipation. He couldn't explain it fully. Part of him expected another simulation, another set of challenges, but another part simply wanted to see Ilara again. Logging in, he found himself in a new environment. The simulation had changed. Gone were the metallic walls and glowing chambers. Instead, he was in a lush virtual garden with trees that shimmered in soft blues and purples, and streams of water that sparkled as if starlight flowed through them. Birds with glowing feathers flitted across the air, and the smell of flowers, virtual but eerily realistic, filled the simulation space. Ilara was already there, seated on a smooth stone near a small waterfall. She waved when she saw him. "Marcus," she said, her tone light, almost playful. "You've returned." Marcus approached, a smile tugging at his lips. I wouldn't miss this." She laughed softly, a sound that felt like sunlight cutting through the coldness of space. "Good. Today is different. The simulation focuses less on problem-solving and more on human interaction. You will still face challenges, but they will require listening, understanding, and collaboration." Marcus took a deep breath. He was ready. The first scenario appeared, a colony facing a cultural conflict. Two groups within the same settlement disagreed about traditions, festivals, and community rules. The system gave suggestions, AI-led negotiations, strict rules, and punishments for non-compliance. Marcus felt a surge of familiarity. "Let's try the human way again," he suggested. "Talk to them, ask questions, listen." Alara tilted her head, curious. "You trust empathy again?" Marcus nodded. "Yes. People respond to understanding, not just rules." They approached the groups together, taking turns asking questions. Marcus noticed small details, gestures, tone of voice, pauses, that the AI completely missed. He suggested compromises that honored both groups' traditions, emphasizing respect and mutual benefit. Slowly, the groups agreed, smiling and shaking hands. The simulation rewarded them, and Alara looked at Marcus with something that almost felt like admiration, mixed with surprise. "You see," she said quietly, "your perspective is remarkable. You notice what machines cannot." Marcus felt a warmth spread through his chest. "It's simple," he replied. "I just pay attention." For the next challenge, they were sent to a colony struggling with fear and suspicion. The system had designed this as a psychological test, forcing avatars to face their deepest doubts about trust and cooperation. Marcus had no training, but he approached it like he would in real life, by being honest. "I don't know everything," he said to the colony's virtual leaders, "but I promise we're here to help. We want to understand, not control." Alara observed him silently, impressed at his calm confidence. Slowly, the colony leaders began to open up, sharing their worries, hopes, and frustrations. Marcus listened intently, asking thoughtful questions and responding with care. "You're patient," Alara said after a while, her voice softer than usual. "Most people would rush to a solution or follow protocol. You let them speak. You let them be heard." Marcus shrugged, feeling slightly embarrassed. "I just think it matters." As the simulation continued, their partnership deepened. Marcus began to understand the logic behind Alara's strategies, while she began to understand the strength in his human approach. Their conversations shifted from instructions and challenges to small personal stories. "I've always felt like a minor cog in this colony," Marcus admitted one evening as they sat watching the simulated sunset over a crystal lake. "People see the engineers who build things, but not the people who make sure it all works behind the scenes. I've always felt small." Alara nodded thoughtfully. "I understand. I've spent years representing my colony, always under pressure to succeed, always measured by outcomes. Rarely do people see me as a person, not a diplomat. You notice things differently." Marcus looked at her, surprised by her honesty. "You trust me enough to say that?" She smiled faintly. "Yes, I do. You make it easy to be honest." They spent hours walking through the virtual garden, talking about their lives, dreams, and fears. Marcus discovered that Alara had grown up on a distant colony where resources were scarce, and survival was a constant challenge. Her dedication to diplomacy came from a desire to prevent others from suffering as she had. In turn, Alara learned that Marcus, though shy and often overlooked, had a sharp mind, a keen sense of observation, and a heart full of genuine care. By the end of the day, they faced a collaborative challenge. A neighboring colony had suffered a technological collapse, leaving communication and resource systems broken. The simulation required them to restore order, coordinate supplies, and calm public fears. Marcus instinctively focused on the people, checking on their emotional well-being and ensuring they felt safe. Alara focused on logistics, system repair, and protocol. Their combined approach worked perfectly. The colony stabilized, and the simulation rewarded them not just with success scores, but with positive feedback highlighting their teamwork. Alara turned to Marcus, her expression softer than he had ever seen. "You make an excellent partner," she said quietly. "Not because you follow rules, but because you follow people." Marcus felt a lump in his throat. He wanted to respond, but words failed him. Instead, he nodded, feeling a rare sense of connection that went beyond simulations and scores. They lingered in the garden as the virtual sun set, and for a moment, the simulation seemed almost alive, responding to their emotions. Marcus realized that his accidental entry into this program had led him to something he hadn't expected: a human bond that felt real, despite being in a virtual world. Alara broke the silence. "You know, Marcus, it's rare to meet someone who reminds me that the human element, emotion, intuition, honesty, still matters, even when technology dominates everything." Marcus smiled, feeling his heart warm. "I guess that's what humans are good at. We notice, we care, we adapt." For the first time, he understood what the system had been teaching: not just strategy, not just diplomacy, but the value of human connection. Machines could process information, follow protocols, and calculate probabilities, but they could not replace empathy, creativity, or trust. As the simulation ended for the day, Marcus logged out reluctantly. He sat in his apartment staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment. He thought about Ilara's soft gaze, her quiet admiration, and the way she had trusted him, not as a partner assigned by a system, but as a human being. That night, sleep came slowly. Marcus kept thinking about the virtual garden, the colony leaders, and the moments of honest conversation. He realized that what had started as an accidental entry into the wrong simulation was becoming something far more important. A friendship, maybe even more, built on trust, understanding, and the simple fact of being seen. And somewhere, deep inside, Marcus felt something new: a quiet confidence that he, a simple engineer from a small orbital colony, could make a difference, not just in simulations, but in the real world too. He didn't yet know what tomorrow would bring, but for the first time in years, Marcus looked forward to it. He had discovered that even in a universe filled with machines, algorithms, and rules, humans, messy, imperfect, unpredictable humans, could still shine and make life richer, brighter, and more meaningful. For Marcus, that realization was more than a lesson. It was hope. And for the first time, he felt that maybe the wrong click that had brought him here was actually the right beginning. The next morning, Marcus felt a flutter of nervous excitement. He logged in and found the simulation had transformed again. Gone were the serene gardens and crystal lakes. This time, he was in a massive space station orbiting a volatile star, its metallic corridors stretching into infinity. Alarms flashed in the distance, and a sense of urgency hung heavy in the air. Alara was already there, standing near a holographic console displaying colonies and trade routes. She looked serious, almost tense. "Marcus," she said, her voice steady but urgent, "today's challenges will test more than your empathy. They will test your judgment under pressure. The situation is unstable. One wrong move could have serious consequences." Marcus swallowed hard. I'll try my best." The first scenario began immediately. A neighboring planetary colony had entered a crisis. Its AI systems were malfunctioning due to a solar flare, and resources were low. The simulation presented two options: follow the AI's emergency protocols strictly or improvise with human judgment. Marcus felt the weight of the decision. "Let's trust the humans first," he said. "AI can guide us, but the people on the ground know their needs better. We need to listen to them, even if it's slower." Ilara glanced at him, slightly surprised. "You really want to ignore the AI's guidance?" "Yes, Marcus replied confidently. We'll use it as a reference, but decisions need to be human-centered. They worked together, communicating with the colony leaders and assessing their immediate needs. Marcus suggested redistributing supplies based on urgency rather than strict quotas, while Ilara coordinated logistics. The combination of his intuition and her experience worked seamlessly. The colony stabilized, and green lights on the holographic map indicated success. Impressive, Ilara said quietly. Even under pressure, you trust human judgment over calculated probabilities. Marcus shrugged, feeling a mix of pride and relief. Sometimes humans know what humans need better than any machine. But the calm was short-lived. A new alert flashed. A saboteur was threatening another colony, tampering with life support systems. The simulation's interface offered conventional options: trace, punish, or isolate. Marcus hesitated, remembering previous lessons. We can't just punish someone without understanding why, he said. Let's talk to them. Find out what's driving their actions. Maybe there's a better solution. Ilara's brow furrowed. You're suggesting a human solution again? Yes, Marcus said firmly. If we understand their fears or frustrations, we can prevent future crises. Punishment alone won't fix anything. Together, they engaged the saboteur. Through careful conversation, they discovered that the individual had acted out of fear and desperation. Marcus proposed a solution that addressed the root cause, redistributing critical resources and improving communication, while ensuring the saboteur could help rebuild the systems. The simulation responded positively, rewarding them for ingenuity, empathy, and leadership. Ilara shook her head in amazement. You continue to surprise me. Most people would have followed the AI blindly. You think beyond it, beyond protocols. Marcus smiled, feeling a rare warmth. I just try to do what's right. But the simulation wasn't done testing them. A larger crisis unfolded. An unstable star was about to erupt, threatening multiple colonies at once. The system overrode their interface, presenting countless calculations, warnings, and procedural steps. Panic surged in Marcus's chest. This was no longer a simple problem. It was a test of judgment, courage, and teamwork. Ilara, he said, voice tight with tension. We can't follow the AI on this one. It's too rigid. We need to act fast, prioritize the colonies, and trust our instincts. She studied him for a moment, then nodded. All right, we do this your way. They divided responsibilities. Marcus focused on the immediate human needs, who needed evacuation, where aid was critical, and how to prevent panic. Ilara coordinated resources, calculated potential hazards, and kept communication flowing. Every decision had consequences, and the simulation reacted instantly. At one point, a colony's evacuation route was blocked by debris. Marcus suggested an alternate path, even though the AI flagged it as risky. Ilara hesitated but trusted him. They rerouted the colonists successfully, saving lives. Your intuition, it's incredible, Ilara said, her voice quiet as the simulation's alarms settled. You see possibilities that the AI cannot. Marcus felt a mix of relief and pride. I just think about people first. Everything else comes after. As the simulation reached its climax, they faced a moral dilemma. 2 colonies required immediate evacuation, but resources were limited. Marcus proposed a compromise: staggered evacuation, prioritizing the most vulnerable first, while Ilara managed the remaining logistics to ensure both colonies survived. The system evaluated their decisions. Green lights flashed across the holographic map, signaling complete success. Marcus exhaled, feeling a surge of accomplishment he had never experienced before. Ilara looked at him, her expression softer than he had ever seen. Marcus, I've been in simulations for years. I've faced every challenge imaginable. But you You make human judgment feel like the most powerful tool. You remind me why humans matter." Marcus felt his heart swell with pride and something else, something deeper, unspoken. I'm just me," he said quietly. "No," she said gently. "You're more than that. You're exactly what humans are meant to be. Creative, empathetic, courageous, and you inspire me." The simulation ended, but the emotional weight lingered. Marcus logged out slowly, staring at the ceiling of his small apartment. The events replayed in his mind. The colonies saved, the saboteur understood, the unstable star averted. Each moment reinforced a truth he had begun to grasp. Humans had something machines could never replicate: the ability to connect, to adapt, and to inspire. That night, Marcus found himself thinking not just about the simulation, but about Ilara. He remembered her admiration, her trust, and the rare softness in her eyes when she acknowledged his instincts. For the first time, he realized that their connection extended beyond the simulation, beyond tasks and challenges. He wondered what it would be like to meet her outside the virtual world. Would she see him as he truly was? A simple engineer, awkward, uncertain, but driven by empathy and curiosity? Or would the weight of their simulated heroics overshadow reality? Sleep came slowly, and Marcus dreamed of the colonies, of glowing stars and distant worlds, and of Ilara's quiet voice praising human intuition. He woke the next day with a sense of determination. The simulation had tested him, pushed him to the edge of his abilities, and revealed something profound: that trust, empathy, and courage were as powerful as any technology. And he knew deep down that tomorrow's challenges, whatever they might be, would not only test his skills but also the bond forming between him and Ilara. A bond that had begun by accident, in the wrong simulation, but now felt inevitable, unshakable, and profoundly human. Marcus logged in the next day with a strange mix of excitement and nervousness. The simulation had transformed once more. He was standing on the bridge of a massive starship floating above a cluster of distant colonies. The holographic display pulsed with activity, showing fleets, trade routes, and colonies facing various challenges. For the first time, Marcus felt the stakes of the simulation extend beyond abstract numbers. He could see the human impact of every decision. Ilara was already there, reviewing reports and coordinating virtual resources. She looked up when she saw Marcus, and for the first time, her smile was full, warm, and entirely personal. "Good," she said, her tone light but confident. "We have one final challenge together. It will test everything we've learned: strategy, judgment, and human connection." Marcus took a deep breath. He knew the challenge would be difficult. It involved coordinating relief for multiple colonies facing both natural disasters and internal conflicts. The simulation warned that missteps could lead to catastrophic outcomes for the colonies. "Ready?" Ilara asked, her gaze steady. "As ready as I'll ever be," Marcus replied. The first stage began immediately. A colony on a frozen moon was losing power due to a solar storm. Marcus instinctively prioritized the most vulnerable, directing resources to those in immediate danger. Ilara managed the technical side, rerouting energy and coordinating logistics. Their combined approach worked seamlessly, and green lights confirmed their success. Next, they faced an internal conflict in a desert colony. Two factions disagreed on water distribution and trade routes. Marcus remembered the lessons from earlier simulations. He spoke to both groups, asking questions, listening carefully, and offering compromises that respected both sides. Ilara supported him, analyzing potential outcomes and suggesting adjustments without overriding his human approach. Slowly, the factions agreed, and peace was restored. For the first time, Marcus realized that the simulation was no longer just about completing tasks. It was about connection. Every decision he made affected virtual humans who mirrored real emotions and reactions. His empathy, creativity, and ability to see the human side of problems became more valuable than any AI calculation. Then, the final test appeared. A solar flare was heading directly toward a cluster of colonies, threatening massive damage. The simulation presented multiple options, all with calculated risks. Marcus felt a wave of panic. If he made the wrong choice, entire colonies could be lost. "Ilara," he said, his voice tight, "we need to act fast. The AI has recommendations, but they're too rigid. We need to trust human judgment, prioritize the most vulnerable, and coordinate evacuation carefully." Ilara nodded, her eyes meeting his. "We do this together. I trust you, Marcus." The trust in her voice strengthened him. They divided responsibilities. Marcus focused on evacuations, morale, and resource distribution. Ilara handled technical systems, fleet coordination, and communication. Every decision required rapid thinking and careful observation. The tension was intense, but Marcus felt a strange calmness, a clarity born of knowing that their combined efforts could save lives. At one point, a critical evacuation route became blocked by debris from a collapsing asteroid belt. The AI flagged it as too risky, but Marcus quickly assessed an alternate path, calculating speed, distance, and safety from memory and observation. He instructed Ilara to reroute the fleet accordingly. She hesitated, then trusted him. The evacuation succeeded, and the colonies were safe. The simulation rewarded them with perfect success, highlighting not just efficiency, but also human empathy, leadership, and collaboration. Marcus exhaled deeply, feeling a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. Ilara turned to him, her eyes softening. "Marcus, all of this, the challenges, the decisions, the outcomes, it's clear now. Human intuition, empathy, and creativity matter more than protocols or calculations. You've proven that humans can solve problems in ways machines cannot. You've reminded me why humanity is extraordinary." Marcus felt a lump in his throat. He had never heard such sincere words from anyone, let alone someone he admired so much. I just try to do what feels right," he said quietly. Ilara smiled faintly, stepping closer. "And that is exactly what makes you remarkable. You see people, not just data. You care, you adapt, you inspire. That is humanity at its finest." For a moment, the simulation dissolved around them, leaving only a quiet space filled with soft golden light. Marcus realized that he wasn't thinking about scores, success metrics, or even the colonies anymore. He was thinking about Ilara, the trust between them, and the bond they had formed. She leaned slightly closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "Marcus, this is the happiest I've felt in years." The words struck him like a gentle wave. He felt a warmth spread through his chest, a joy that had little to do with the simulation and everything to do with the human connection they had built. Marcus swallowed, searching for words. I didn't expect this. I came here by accident, and I'm glad I did." Ilara's eyes sparkled, and for the first time, Marcus saw something beyond admiration, something deeper, something real. "Sometimes the wrong path leads to the right place," she said softly. "You've reminded me that even in a universe ruled by technology, human connection matters most." Marcus felt a smile spread across his face. He had never felt this way before, not about anyone, not about anything. The accidental simulation, the challenges, the crises, they had all led to this moment. A moment of truth, of clarity, and of genuine human warmth. They logged out together, the simulation fading, leaving Marcus back in his small apartment. But the sense of fulfillment, of hope, and of connection lingered. He looked at the ceiling, reflecting on everything that had happened. In the quiet of his apartment, Marcus realized that the lessons of the simulation extended beyond virtual challenges. Trust, empathy, intuition, and courage were qualities that mattered in every aspect of life. Humanity had a unique power, not just to survive, but to inspire, to connect, and to transform. He thought about Ilara, about the spark of admiration and trust in her eyes, and the gentle way she had acknowledged his instincts and his heart. For the first time in years, Marcus felt truly seen, understood, and valued. Not as an engineer, not as a simulation participant, but as a human being. The next day, Marcus returned to the orbital gardens of the simulation, though he no longer approached it with nervousness. Instead, he walked with calm confidence, knowing that whatever challenges came, he had the ability to adapt, to care, and to solve problems alongside those he trusted. Ilara was waiting, as always. She greeted him with the same quiet strength, but now there was a warmth and familiarity that neither of them had before. Together they faced simulations, crises, and challenges, not just as partners, but as equals, as humans who understood the power of connection, empathy, and courage. As the days passed, Marcus noticed something profound. The simulation had not only taught them strategy and diplomacy, but had strengthened a human bond that transcended digital space. They laughed, learned, and supported each other. And every day, Marcus felt that spark of happiness, the simple joy of human connection, growing stronger. By the end of their final session, the simulation presented one last scenario, a virtual world at peace, all colonies thriving, and humans and AI working in harmony. Marcus and Ilara watched the holographic suns rise over countless planets, the culmination of their shared effort. The system acknowledged their achievement, but it felt almost secondary. The real victory was the bond they had forged, the lessons they had shared, and the truth they had discovered. Humanity, its empathy, courage, and creativity, was the most powerful force of all. Ilara turned to Marcus one final time. "Thank you," she said softly, her voice filled with genuine emotion, "for reminding me of the strength of being human, for reminding me of hope." Marcus smiled, feeling the weight of everything lift. "Thank you, Ilara, for trusting me, for showing me what we can do together." For the first time in years, they stood together, not as participants in a simulation, not as assigned partners, but as humans who had discovered something extraordinary, the simple, undeniable truth that connection, trust, and empathy could change everything. And in that quiet moment, Marcus knew, sometimes the wrong click could lead to the right place. Sometimes mistakes could lead to happiness, growth, and a bond stronger than any algorithm, any rule, or any system. And for Marcus, that was more than enough.